have a I have your jersey, man.
Oh, fuck yeah, you do.
Brent Burnsy from the San Jose Sharks. How's it, man? Welcome to the show.
It's good. I'm not vaping today.
Oh
God, are you irritated?
Are you?
I've got nicotine gum.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I've got nicotine gum.
We might have a little more edge to Burns than usual today.
Yeah.
This is probably the first of anything that I've done without my robot dick in my mouth.
Oh wow!
Do you before you went robot? Did you still rip heaters every once in a while? When I think of the phrase "ripping heaters," I think of Mike Burns talking about.
When I moved back to Michigan,
it's hard not to.
There was a little stint where I was buying a pack of Parliaments a week, and then I was allowing I go to the bar. I'd allow myself to have one before the Lions game, halftime, and then after the game. And then it got thrown in the junk drawer. I went back to Jules or Nick Gum, but that was it. And I probably went through 3-4 packs, but at a certain point, I've bummed cigarettes from people. If I'm at a bar and they close the bar and you get to sit at a bar and smoke indoors, which it's such a it's so pleasurable that I can't not do it. But the cigarettes don't taste as good anymore. It's sad.
Why?
Well, you burnt all your taste buds out.
Well, because I smoke a spearmint mentholy robot dick, and it's so smooth.
Yeah. Right.
There's no aftertaste. The aftertaste is just like I had a piece of cheap Wrigley's gum.
100%. That was the worst part. Like, I loved smoking so much, but immediately the way my hands felt, like the way I could feel it like around my mouth and on my face, I hated it. I hated that so much.
Yeah. And I feel like I was good at it. I don't feel like I ever reeked like cigarettes. I feel like some people they're reckless with it.
Yeah.
They're just wafting in the smoke.
Yeah.
Like
you're a professional smoker.
My buddy comedian Jesse Pop. That dude, he'll put the shorts in his pocket afterwards because
God.
Yeah, he doesn't want
even cigarette smoke smell. That's just
it's so
the
bad.
Worst.
Yeah.
But he does it out of the goodness of his heart that he doesn't want to throw cigarette butts on the ground. So later he'll throw it in a trash can. But there is no worse smell in the world than a cigarette butt.
I can't even imagine.
That's awful.
Yeah. All right. Well, you about ready to go?
Yeah, I thought we were going now.
We're going now. We're going. Did you start the video yet?
Yes, I just started the video. Yeah.
Okay,
so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Comedian, internet celebrity, OG Twitter god, the Banksy of Twitter himself, Dad Boner. That's not all we want to talk about, but I mean, we can't. Mike Burns, rather a mythical creature. You know, when you catch a Mike Burns in the wild, it's a treat. So it's a pleasure to get to talk to you, man.
Digging up the old Dad Boner for another drag around the yard.
You know, if anybody wants the full official Dad Boner story, I encourage them to go back and listen to Brido's 2 episodes he did with you. But since we have you, we'll probably touch on a couple of subjects.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Alan, did you have anything you wanted to start with, or do you want to let me ask some random questions?
So, I mean, just kind of take us through broad strokes, the overview. Like, when did you start Dad Boner? What were you thinking when you did it, and then go from there.
I think it starts in 2010.
Okay.
And Twitter,
the golden age of Twitter.
Yeah.
It's the golden age of Twitter. It's also no one knows what it is yet. There isn't a definition for it. And I don't think it ever fully evolved to what it should have been. Now it's just a garbage dump.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
It's fucked. It's just like every social media platform. At some point, they turn into a garbage dump because people are trash and can't have nice things. Everything's got to be milked and ruined. I do kind of
time on site, that type of shit.
I don't like the way it functions, but what's the Instagram Twitter?
Threads. Yeah.
Threads. Now I see like comedian buddies on there putting jokes on there, just one-liner jokes or observations. They're like, oh, this is nice. This is how it used to be before everyone wanted to rip each other's throat out about whatever presidential candidate they were on the team of.
Right.
And then that was the final straw. But yeah, I just I started randomly writing a fake character. I always like to do characters on stage. I always almost preferred that and found more joy when I dress up and be a different person. And no reason I couldn't do that on Twitter. And it was fun. And for me, it was a little more comfortable. As much as I like to be stared at and I like attention like anyone else, for the most part, it's not always fun to be completely exposed. And I'm certainly never a big time celebrity whatsoever, but it gave me some empathy towards people who are celebrities. Like, people are like, well, you don't feel bad for them. They're fucking rich. But having everyone stare at you and want something from you, like your representation agents or managers or this or that, and then the guilt trips that you get for turning things down for your own mental health. Like, hey, I can't go do that today. Like, you keep pounding me and I need a day off. Maybe I just didn't have the fucking balls for it. Maybe I didn't have the stomach for it. But I guess I really sidetracked on what the history of
it's fine.
Yeah, you're fine, man. I mean, we could even start more on comedy too. I mean, we've both read Brido's book. You come up quite a few times in there. I mean, you and him are buddies going back, and we're big fans of Brido as well. So maybe actually, Alan, if you don't mind, can we go back a little bit and start over there?
Sure, go ahead.
So I don't think anyone will mind. Bounce around. See what you like.
How did you get into comedy? I know it's kind of a generic question. How did you get into comedy? Was it at Michigan State, or was it prior? Was it later on in Chicago?
I always liked being the clown. I always liked making comedy for my friends. I used to carry around a pocket recorder and drunkenly interview people on the street, and then put it into mixtapes with different hip hop songs.
Oh, wow.
Then I'd make a 90-minute tape, and then it'd cut to me talking to some woman who lives on the street about her Ferris wheel that she got. And then it just cut. And a lot of times in Chicago, the bars close at 5. So you'd leave the bar, go get breakfast at a Greasy Spoon, and then it'd be daylight. And now you're revamped. And now you can go, let's go get some more beers. Let's hit the store. Let's keep going. And I'd walk around and just throw a tape recorder into someone's face who was probably like me, drunk from the night before. And they just, man, I took some girl home and she had them doo-doo guts. Oh, and so it's like, oh, wow, really? And you just, I'm obviously interested, but I crank it up a little bit. You get like a nice little snippet. And then I started to tap my own phone, and I would do reverse Jerky Boys phone calls for telemarketers.
When they call into you, you call record?
Yeah,
I got my favorite formats. Please tell me everything about you doing that.
I got a little suction cup recorder,
like Radio Shack, right?
Yep, Radio Shack. Stuck it on my cordless, and then when someone would call, and I'd be like, "Ooh, fish on the line," and I'd just go full deep character and ride it. And I did telemarketing in college, so when I did this, I knew what they had to hear or what was going on in that room for them to have to end the phone call, and I never let them do it. Some were 45 minutes of me just being, oh, hello, just like, hey, Mr. Eric Hoberman, we're calling for Eric Hoberman. This is him. We're calling to give you a great low rate on your AT&T bill. Would you be interested in that? Oh, does this include the football phone? Because that's what I'd really like. Like, oh no, there's no football phone, but do you like saving money? Yeah, I like money, but my handler, Jerry, he usually does the finances for me. And then Jerry's not here, and I don't want to get in trouble. I just fucking
just keep him on the line.
45 minutes sometimes with those. I'd rack a tape up, put a new one in.
Wow.
And I did a bunch of that, but I always loved.
What would you do with that stuff? Would you post it somewhere, or would you just?
That didn't before any of that, right?
No internet then.
Yeah,
no internet.
So much of this is lost to time. Oh my gosh.
Scaring it was putting it on 90-minute cassette tapes that I would intersperse other Cash Money Millionaire songs or Juvenile, what have you, on there. And
would you go on a first date and be like, hey, by the way, check this out? Would you
I live with a
girl, right?
I live with a girlfriend there. I was swimming in there.
Okay.
And then we got married, so there's less swimming afterwards as well.
How old were you when you got married?
I was 27, but I was with her from we met in college, so I met her when I was 19.
Okay.
Oh wow.
And this is all pre-boner.
This is pre-boner, yeah.
Okay.
The pre-boner of the early years. It's like the Sam Elliott Yellowstone. It's
right.
It's
Yeah,
that one.
You didn't have internet fame yet.
I had there was a family that we were friends with in high school and junior high. Went same parish at church or whatnot. The James family, and Andrew was my grade, and then a year or two older than me was Kate, and Kate did sketch comedy and improv with a group called Schadenfreude, which I was a huge fan of. They're really they're very popular in Chicago, and they did a lot of really groundbreaking stuff. And when I first moved there, I went and watched them in a black box theater in Wicker Park, I think. And it blew my mind that something was that funny. I'd been to Second City and saw main stage stuff, but going to see an independent, really sharp, weird sketch troupe, I'd never seen anything like that. I didn't know something could be that wild and funny and be something that I liked. Like, I liked Monty Python. I like Kids in the Hall. I like things that were skewed a little bit different. So I asked her, how can I do this? She said, well, you go to Second City or Improv Olympic and you sign up for some improv classes. That's a great way and way most people start. And I had my wife bought them for me for Christmas. That was my Christmas gift in the year 2000. And yeah, they just went hog wild within a year or two. I was in 2 or 3 improv troupes. I had multiple sketch troupes. I was doing comedy 12 nights a week. And then I added in stand-up, because stand-up started to get hot again. And there started to be I don't know what was popular at the time. I think when David Cross started to put out stand-up records, that kind of put a cool stamp on, like, this guy's the Mr. Show guy who's already a fucking god to people like me. He's doing stand-up too. I'm like, and he's making stand-up his style of it. He does whatever he wants. It's a little off. It's a little alty. Makes it fucking cool. So then I found out where I could do stand-up, which was the Lion's Den in Chicago, and whole other world. It was just a completely different world of what I thought stand-up was. And that's, if you've read Perfect Amount of Wrong by Mr. Bridenstine, you're fully versed in what that scene was like. And it was very impressive. And then, so improv starts to lose its luster, and I start to do more sketch. And then, you've got 4 or 5 people in the sketch troupe, and there's me who's like, I'm all in for this. This isn't an after work softball team for me. I want to play in the big leagues. So you start chipping down, and I chip down to 2 people, and then I'm writing everything for a 2-person sketch troupe. And you get greedy, and you're like, I could just do this on my own. And then I'm in more control. I don't have to, well, can we get together to do this? Can we get together to write or work on it? And like, well, I can't do this day because I got work, and I got stand-up. All you need is a notebook and a pen, and you show up and you do the work on stage. You do some in the cab or the walk on the way there, and then you walk away with a product that you can improve on. And I loved that. I loved that it was just mine. And then I could, if I wanted to do a character to get my jollies out like I did in sketch, I throw a pair of funny glasses and a wig and a sweater in the backpack and throw that out of the bathroom and go up on stage and use my 5, 8, 10 minutes to be someone else. And
this is that time that alt is really defining itself too, right? And especially in Chicago. I mean, so what you're describing was still kind of like not really, people hadn't gotten used to seeing that at all.
No. And I think that was a big byproduct of Chicago being so staunch improv and then having sketch mixed in, and then people starting to they wanted a little greed. You want the whole look for yourself, and you want that autonomy, and it became attracted to people. And everyone in Chicago, your comedy fans or comedy goers, they're so used to seeing improv and sketch that they're not thrown off when a stand-up comes on stage and is, ain't this you do? It's Caleb Hodgkiss,
Right. Doing
for 5 minutes, I'm gonna talk about how I think I got a bigger dick than Tom Berenger or something, just like in character. But they didn't have to adjust. They already understood what that was. Whereas I think LA and New York probably weren't as smooth as a transition, because they still had staples of stand-up comedy who fit a Ray Romano profile.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Anything outside of Silver Lake wasn't going to be okay with that.
Right.
Yeah. Was there something that you missed though about the collaborative process with sketch and with improv that you don't have as a solo act, or?
No.
That's a no.
I'm taking notes because Alan's bugging me.
I feel like I outgrew it, and sketch is a different thing. I still like to do that, and I think we, as a society, at some point along the line, it turned into videos instead of stage acts. Even though that still exists, I think that it's primarily more stand up. Like you'll see at the location on your cap there, the beautiful Lincoln Lodge in Chicago, Illinois, mostly stand up. And even though it's an alt theater, which that's where we're at now, that stand up is alt. It's just comedy now. It's I don't know if you define it necessarily, but an alt theater like the Lincoln Lodge is looked at as alt comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just, this is what stand up is. Here's
just comedy now.
Here's all the kinds of it. Here's LGBTQ comedy night. Here's, there's the Black experience. Here's a Latino experience. Here's whatever pile you want to put things into, but it's all in one space. And that's why places like that are so
stages they got there too.
So incredible. It's such a really special thing that exists.
What do you think about Clown?
So Brido,
yes,
has told me that I would be over the moon and so into Clown if I was still active.
Brido's the only reason I know about Clown.
Same.
I don't know what it is. Are you vaping?
I'm sorry, I stopped.
You can. I'm not that guy.
I was wondering if you were going to catch that.
No. You can.
I don't know. I'll be more subtle.
No, don't, because that doesn't work that way. You can't. That's like if someone wants to, I don't drink anymore. Like I do. That's my answer to anyone.
I was going to ask you that. What's it like being the last of your friends to still drink?
I moved back to Michigan. All my friends here fucking drink. Everyone drinks here. Everyone drinks. If you meet a unicorn who doesn't drink, it's like, well, what happened to you?
Yeah, right. I can't.
There's a story there.
There is a reason why you can't trust yourself too. Therefore, I shouldn't trust you.
How many Deweys was it then? 5? Was it 5?
Man,
if you quit.
When I lived in Royal Oak, I worked at the Bed Bath & Beyond in Troy, and I had to drive. I forgot his name, but I had to drive my bookie. He worked with me. I had to drive him home every night because he finally got his 6th DUI. Like, people think I make this up. Like, Michigan is a different place, man.
Oh, absolutely. And there's no public transportation.
Right. It's like, what
there's
am I supposed to do? All the roads are straight. The worst thing that happened is it snows and we just drive slower. It's actually better.
Right. There's, how many Ubers there are in Saginaw, Michigan? 0. Lyfts, 0. Buses. If you can find one, once in a while you see them, but I don't know how the fuck. It could be hours before you get home.
Right.
Certainly not a fucking train. Helicopter taxis don't exist. So guess what? Everyone's driving home. You just do your best. You do your best. It's a different animal, like you said. You could be the sweetest old lady in church, but you're 75, you're having 3 glasses of Pinot Noir, putting your little bird body way over the legal limit, but drive straight. There's no cars on the road. It's
Aim
not
for
like
the one in the middle. Yeah.
right. I'm not advocating drunk driving, but
No, of course not. Of course not.
I'm just saying, if you live in a Midwestern city, like that's not, it's not a major city. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not spreading some new gospel to everybody.
I think actually that's probably as good a way as ever to transition into it. So I mean, we're getting a little dad boner adjacent with that type of talk. To the uninitiated, maybe some of our listeners are pretty young. Maybe they aren't familiar with 2010 as a concept. What who was Dad Boner? Who's Carl? I have some notes: his friends, marriage, hangout places. Can you talk about the Peener dance?
Sure.
I'll interrupt with more questions, but you probably answered this before. Who is Carl, and where did that come from?
Carl Welzine is a I don't even know how old he was. I think he might have only been like 38 or something when I first started to write it. But in my head, he was just an archetype. There was never a specific age. But now I'm way older than Carl was when Carl started. He goes through a midlife crisis, and he's the kind of guy that always blamed all the things he didn't do on getting married or having kids. So, that he's that guy at the bar that's like, yeah, man, fucking used to listen to a lot of Van Halen, went to a lot of Van Halen concerts, really like Michael Anthony, but here's the thing. I was a better bassist than Michael Anthony in high school. I'm serious. No, I was. And I'm serious. I had a shot, and I could have moved to LA or New York or something, but I got married and then I had kids, yada yada, did that whole thing, and that kind of ruined it. Oh, that's what ruined it. Oh, you weren't going to be a bassist in one of the biggest rock bands in fucking history because you got married. That's what stopped it. Otherwise, yeah, probably just a cakewalk.
And we've all met these people in some night or the other, and like to just have a go-to where you're like, what's Carl saying today? If you could keep track of with them but not have to interact and actually associate with them, like that was what following Dad Boner was like, right? Like,
right.
And also it was things like Carl Anthony. Is that what you know? What I don't know.
Michael Anthony.
I don't know the bass player from Van Halen.
Well, it's Wolf's son.
But he would know that, and you do. I get
right.
Like that's the level of detail.
Right. And
he's also the guy that would be like, if I hadn't sprained my ankle in junior high, I would have been a point guard for the Suns for sure. Like,
right. Yeah. Yeah. Just all you got to do is learn how to shoot the 3-ball now. That's it. I got time. I'll go down to the Y.
Could be Steph Curry, no problem.
Dropping. So he's that type of guy. He also starts to self-sabotage his marriage. And he's stuck in one of those marriages where, and I don't want to say stuck in. I always try to find a non-negative way to talk about this because I am divorced, and my wife wasn't this way, but a lot of people that I know have had this experience where, let's say it's a Tuesday and you're having a third beer and it's a big deal. Like, oh, are you serious, Carl? Really? Do you need a third beer? Who fucking cares if I need it? So I took out frustrations on whatever this controlling archetype of a person through Carl, even though he was wrong and he could have handled things better, but he escalates. It starts out with stuff like that. And it's these little bits of a relationship when you watch things just completely disintegrate that you don't realize until after the relationship's over. And you look back and you're like, oh, that's when it started because I was adored. And then I'm getting nitpicked and then it escalates to something more. I think one of the big tipping points very early in the Carl story is he gets yelled at because he eats, I think, one of the kids' Lunchables on one occasion. And he ate too much of the deli ham that was for quote unquote lunches only, which he bought. you know, it's his fucking, it's not his house, but he's the breadwinner in the house, and he gets treated like a child because he ate too much of the deli ham or wanted 3 beers on a Tuesday. And it just, all of these things piled up. And then you get to a point in a relationship where there's resentment, where it's all just push and push instead of push, pull. It's just two people butting heads all the time. And he could have probably fixed whatever these problems were, but instead he chose to move in with this guy Dave, who he meets at the gas station. And he knew Dave from, they weren't buddies in high school, but he's that guy you kind of knew. And now he's grown up and you're grown up and you've taken different paths. And Dave's like, hey man, I'm living over in these shitbag apartments. And I'll tell you, Carl, I am cleaning up with women. It is singles paradise. There are so many babes, luscious babes in almost every unit in this apartment building. You got to come hang out. And when you're a married guy and you're delusional, you think that because most of your exposure to the modern dating is what's in the back of your head from when you were cruising for chicks, and you could go out to a bar and pick up a girl, take her home. He goes like, but you were 21 or 19 or fucking 23. Mm-hmm. It's not like that when you're in your 40s. That's not like a plethora of babes just creaming to get it out with you. He thinks that. He goes over, he gets in a fight with Ann, Ann at the time. We had to change the name for the TV show. He gets in a fight, moves in with Dave, and it's just a fucking pigsty dump. But you know, it's fun to hang out with a pigsty dump with your buddy for a couple days, and then you're like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, dude. There's more pubic hair on the bar soap in your bathroom than there is on my fucking dick. I gotta get the fuck out of here, bud.
Did they share a shower?
Oh yeah, there's definitely only one shower in that apartment.
One bathroom place, yeah.
So it continues, and this goes on for a long time.
Yeah,
and eventually it gets divorced, and all kinds of hijinks ensue.
Well, I asked you that question about the shower because I knew you'd have an answer for it. I've heard you talk about it. You've wrote this, but I guess I'm curious. Did you always have a plan for him, or after like the initial people started to like what you were doing with it, did you say like, okay, well, I better have a couple story arcs? Like, at what point? No. It for some reason,
Mr. Improv. For some reason, it just found itself, and
it was organic.
It's what Carl would do.
It was my brain playing out what the natural string of events would be, and then eventually I'd get to a resolve or a cap. And a big part of the style of the way that's written is the next day's recap from what happened is where the punchlines are.
Okay, right.
So all day long, I'd be hammering about some story that he's gonna get his boat out. This happens. Yeah. He doesn't want to go put it.
Looking forward to a Friday night or something, right?
Yeah.
Gonna be a big weekend. Okay, I'm sorry.
No. He doesn't want to go put his boat in the water because it's not warm enough out yet or something. So he just hooks it up to his car, and he has his buddy Dave drive him around town, which is just as good. You know, and he fantasizes to himself, just the tunes blaring in the boat. He's drinking cold ones, waving. He always was so excited to wave to people from a boat. Every time we talk about his boat, whether it was driving around Grand Blanc in the fucking by the Kessels and Applebee's and just pulling up to babes like, hey, like a psychopath, or actually having his boat on the water, he loved the idea. Just because everyone does it. It's
he's like a prom queen on the float.
Everyone likes to wave when they're on a boat. You gotta wave to the other boat. If there's a dock, you gotta wave to them. You gotta let them know that you're having a good fucking time on this boat. It's the best thing anyone could ever do. I need to let you know that right now.
Have you met anybody in real life that's disturbingly similar to Carl? Or
yes, yeah. I mean, he's bits of me. He's
Sure.
bits of Mike Bridenstine. We're coming to realize that he's a lot more of my friend Dave, who lives in Saginaw, than I ever realized. To the point where me and my friend Carl, who Carl's named after, who I do my Patreon podcast with, we're like, oh my God, did I take nuggets from our friend's persona and make a fake human being out of it? Or is he just that way and we didn't notice it before until I put all the puzzle pieces together in a fabrication?
Because you're both from Saginaw, like, so you had all the same inputs.
That's the thing is, he's a lot of guys at every bar I ever go to. Not a lot. Sure. He's a couple for sure. And I sit there and snicker to myself sometimes, like, there's no way to explain to this guy how he's someone else in my brain. Like, I can't.
Right.
That's why I'm so entertained. Like, I love dive bars. I love.
Yeah.
I'll sit there by myself forever and watch
TV. That are still cash only, right? Like
preferably.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it is like, it's like Kramer with his Merv Griffin talk show set in Seinfeld. A new person just comes and sits down. If I'm there for a session on like a Sunday afternoon, 3-4 hours, watching a little golf and a Tiger game, people come and go. And there's a new character next to me. The bar still empties up, and then it's Aaron, the roofing guy, my buddy.
Right.
And then Aaron has to go because his wife's got ribs on the grill. And then it's Bobby Joe, this 70-year-old alcoholic lady who gives me cassette tapes sometimes, and then we chit chat. And it's like people love to be talked to about themselves, and I love to hear about it. So how's it going? How's this? People they'll fucking go nonstop while they suck down via or what is it? What do old people drink? BV. They all drink.
They drink BV.
BV and water is a big hit with the older alcoholic set.
I mean, those kind of bars are like church for degenerates like us, I guess. That's kind of what that is. Yeah. So there's a phrase that he says a lot. He says, "You guys," and
like to start things, right?
Or at the end of a lot of the posts.
At the end of things.
And I don't know where that, like, how that entered the cultural zeitgeist. I just know I started hearing it at some point. We actually had a listener who's no longer with us, but his name was Jerry. He used to do a cartoon every day on his Instagram. And a lot of times in the caption, it would end with "you guys." And he's also from Michigan. Is that like a Michigan thing, or do you know where that came from?
I originally started to do that. It was a way I was poking fun at like YouTubers, that type of influencer character who I'm going to get a fucking vape pen after this.
You've ruined him, Dustin.
No. I told myself today when I was buying more nicotine gum, I'm like, why are you even doing this? You're not going to just stone cold quit today. But I had a nice yoga session last night, and then I was coughing up a bunch of shit. I'm like, okay, we're getting all that goop out. This would be a good time to quit. I told myself, well, you're not going to stop vaping when you drink. Well, then I said back to myself, maybe you could get some gum and make it through today, and then maybe see how it goes. And
Baby steps.
No, it's not your fault. I'm an addict.
I guess there's the answer for how the gum. I've never tried the gum before. It just doesn't feel like it hits the same button.
No, it doesn't. But it's like you're craving a steak, and then you shove a handful of Skittles in your mouth. And you're like, oh, I don't want steak anymore. That's what it is.
Okay.
Right.
Get that. Do you smoke? I mean, I know. Do you guys have dispensaries out there? Do you smoke?
I primarily use a robot dick weed pen.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as there's some penetration of the orifice, I think.
Oh yeah, every night for sure. Around 10:30 is when I start the slow process of turning my brain completely off to go to sleep.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so cheap.
Yeah. I know.
So cheap here.
Whenever I think about what I spend when I splurge on that, I'm like, the amount of time I get out of this compared to a bottle of alcohol it doesn't even compare. Like it's
right. It's alcohol except for it being such a integral part of a small community like this, and the golf that I crave, and all my friends fucking drink, and they'll think I fucking. I mean, it's not like I care, but I'm not going to be as fun for them anymore, and I shouldn't do that to my friends. Thus,
Yeah.
Can't quit the booze.
It's not a problem, so why would I? I've took you a long way from Alan's question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's circle back.
Circle back. You guys. Where do you guys come from?
I heard influencer types use it quite a bit, and it always seemed so just phony. Like, hey, you guys, it's Carissa. Hey, you guys. Hey, you guys, it's Dan. Hey, you guys. And I kept in it for some reason. It just, I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. So then I started putting it on the end of him saying things in a more genuine manner. And I think that it would always be, it was almost primarily used as a punctuation to him saying something profound. And that's how all of the storylines usually culminated with one final statement, a piece of gospel from him.
A nugget of advice.
A really weird, like,
yeah.
But it always happened. And I could sense when it was going to happen. I'm like, okay, I need to do 2-3 more pieces and that's going to happen. And it just naturally would, because I would write in his voice and I knew how the funnel was going to end up. And putting that "you guys" on there for some reason made those tweets so much more popular because they knew it was special. But it also was a way of me, just like it's like a wink. You ever have someone who winks at you after they say stuff like, "Hey, I'll tell you what." I had my ex-wife's mother was dating some new guy, and he lived in Phoenix. And we'd be sitting there at like he's a fancy schmancy lawyer, and he'd be eating dinner, and he'd look over at me and, "Hey, Mike, hey, you know what the best silk is? Mm-hmm. You got to go down to my friend Carl's shop down in the downtown area. He'll hook you up. I'll take you in there. I'll make sure you get hooked up, buddy." And it just gave me the fucking willies.
Yeah.
Or it'd be something I already knew, like Honeycrisp apples. You want a good apple? These are the best ones.
There you go.
Like he used to give me secret information, like some Sotto Voce shit. Or fuck you.
Right. I gotta say, as somebody, like, when you're reading it, so you have a voice in your head of what that person sounds like. When I get to the "you guys," it is like a punchline for me. It's like in my head, I'm like, that's the part where you're supposed to laugh.
Right.
I don't know. That's how it translates in my brain.
No, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
And the thing is, he's not writing it to anybody.
Right. It's just thrown in the void.
And as far as the rules go for that, he was just, it was like a fishbowl. He didn't know you were there, but the reader knows he's there. But you have to suspend disbelief that he's just, in his head, he's projecting this towards a populace that he doesn't know about. It's a real suspension of disbelief the way that worked, but it made perfect sense to me while I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the way he wrote. It's just I think it's part of the ego of the character too, right? To be like, I don't even care. Like, I'm saying this, you don't really mean anything. I'm like, well, I don't mean to be that negative about it, but it's just, I want to say this, and if anyone's listening, you're going to hear it. It's that guy at the bar that would do that.
Yeah, I always looked at it as, I think at some point I called it a goldfish scenario where he's just in a goldfish bowl. The goldfish doesn't know you're out there. It might see you, but it doesn't really register. The goldfish is just kind of doing its goldfish shit, thinking goldfish thoughts, and you are observing that as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, right. When it started to get really popular, what was that? What did that feel like? And did it at some point feel like a job for you to post these things? Did it get tiresome, or was it always fun?
No, I always wrote it. It was always a priority, and it was the best part of my day. And
nice.
A lot of times I would go and sit in this Papasan out on our deck, and it had been sitting there forever. And I'd put headphones on and I'd just sit there and pound on it and drink. And sometimes I'd listen to a lot of the songs that he references. I would listen to over and over and over again. So let's say I'm writing for 4 hours. I would listen to Motley Crue's Looks That Kill, like on repeat for hours. And I've said this before and it sounds psycho, but I would really try and turn the essence of some arena rock or heavy metal hair band or Seeger type song into Alchemy, where that song would give you the same feeling as reading what he would write is.
Yeah. That thread, right? Like that story,
right?
Whatever.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, whether it was successful or not. That's what I felt, and that's what I wanted. I felt like if I felt it, and if I really wrote passionately, something that I could, gave me emotions while I wrote it. If that was what was the fuel, then the turd. If I was eating chili, the poop should also pretty much smell like chili. It's disgusting.
But, I wasn't all the way there until you said that last part, but now I get it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of the music, I love your musical takes. Either on your show. Now's a good time to plug your show. Do you want to plug the regular one and the Patreon?
Sure. Power Moves with Mike Burns is anywhere you can listen to a podcast, free and commercial free, and it's free to listen to. And that's usually once every 2 weeks right now. And
nice surprise.
And then it's usually 2 weeks, but I feel like it's better because I've done so many. I feel like the concentration of how funny those episodes are better with me and Bridenstine when it's every couple weeks, and it makes me not get burnt out.
Sure.
From doing the shows.
You two riffing, like it's a blast to listen to.
That yoga you went to, was it the book club one or was it just regular yoga?
Oh no, book club's just once every couple months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a special event on Wednesday. You read the book, then you go do some yoga, then you read the book, then you talk about the book. Usually I go Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I practice Ashtanga on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and then some other oddball stuff. But no, I actually really do that.
You gotta stay limber.
It's my church. It's church now.
I love your takes in music, man. I think
I didn't finish my plug.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Circle it back. My other show, which is newer, it's on episode 58, is Cards, which is a stupid name, but it's with my real lifelong friend Carl, who Carl Welzine's named after, and it's a whole show completely based on ripping on our real civilian friends and everything that they did throughout the week. And we all spend all day long together on chat boards. So let's say one of them, like, I worked all day, and then my wife, I thought we were gonna, like, it was my birthday, and we had a nice dinner and had a couple drinks, and then I thought I was going to get that beach, and then she just like wanted to go to bed, and I don't know, I just took care of it in the John, and then went to bed. And, she said maybe tomorrow. But I'm not counting. So
this is grandpa boner,
right? So there's shit like that will like. Oh, so I guess Money didn't get his birthday beach, and then we just talk about that. And then we'll have a friend who says he's been going on a diet, and he's been talking about this diet, and he's really, really, like, all week long. We share everything with each other. Look at this salad I made. Oh yeah, I'm drinking a lot of water this week. No more. No beers, no pops during the week. Just drinking a lot of water. Hey, what do you guys think about this detox kale juice? And then it's like Thursday, and like, oh, okay, I've got some Papa John's. And then some reason it's like next day you got Papa John's again. You fucking 40 beers that day, and then the next day you ate Coney dogs, and then tacos, and then all the leftover pizza. And then Monday comes, and it's a picture of like the salad. And we're like, you should get some croutons on there. Well, it's not keto, so I can't. So that gets it's everything. It's so fucking weird. It's like it's like a housewives show, except for it's just us two recapping about 8 other people's lives and everything they did that week. If it was entertaining,
I fucking love it.
That's great. And that's on the Patreon only, right?
Yeah, that's patreon.com/Power Moves with Mike Burns.
Nice.
Sweet.
Nice.
Circling back. See, I have learned to mostly control my ADD. I frequently come back to my previous thoughts. I wanted to say, I just thank you for bringing Sam Cooke back into my life. I feel like he was an artist that, like, I had obviously, like, you grow up hearing, and then I just stopped hearing him regularly. And you mentioned him on Mike's show once, like 2 years ago, and I think you said that the live at the is it the Harlem
Social Club.
Harlem Social Club of Bring It On Home to Me. Man, I listen to that all the time.
It hits different. The live version is
it does. It's different. A totally different song.
And Sam Cooke is one of those people that you could look at as, oh, I've heard the big hits and I just know him as this guy. You don't know that this motherfucker was ripping it on stage in a completely like a rock star capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. I
have a very eclectic musical taste. It's just
the best kind.
I take a lot of shit because I just kind of like whatever sounds good to me, which includes a lot of Matchbox 20 songs.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
No, I'll give you another plug that you brought back out of pulled out of the memory hole was is it Can You Get Me High Enough? The Damn Yankees song?
It's just Higher. Yeah.
Higher. Yeah. I
Damn
get it
Yankees.
confused lyrically with the Creed song or Nickelback or whatever.
Oh yeah. It could have went either way from your reference point, but no, Higher by Damn Yankees is a great fucking song, and it's one of those things where some people just write something like that off, like, well, that's just that shitty Ted Nugent / Styx band or whatever. It sounds good, man.
Yeah.
Do you have
a karaoke song?
It sounds good.
Do you have like a go-to karaoke song?
I have a bunch. I love karaoke.
I'm going to karaoke.
Top three. What's your top 3?
For me, I do a great Sweet Home Chicago, the Blues Brothers version.
Oh, yeah. Which one? Which version?
The Blues Brothers version.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those, I can just gravel my way through it, and I'm loud enough, and I have enough tone that I can hit it. I do a incredible Nothing But a G thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
That was like one of the first, like for me, that was one of the first rap songs I memorized every single word to. And
that's what happened. I was in the car once and it came on and I hip hopped it to myself. I was like, oh shit, you just know all of this.
Right.
And I turned it off turned the volume down for a second.
And kept it going?
And kept it going and then turned it back up. I'm like, oh, you gotta fucking do this. This is great.
Because you can get the this like that, like this, and then that like this, like that. No problem. Not tricking me there going backwards.
Right. You got to get the CONPTON in the city they call, like, those little nuggets.
That's tough.
When you hit those, fucking people
good.
go,
feels great.
You get this. Ooh.
All right, one more.
If I can convince so it's a live piano where we're going tonight. If I can manage to convince the piano guy to put up with me doing a bit, I go up and I do Bob Seger, which I'm sure you'll like.
Sure.
But all I do is repeat, just take those old records off the shelf with different inflection to match the lyrics.
I'll take it a step further. I'm sure they'll love it. I have a bar coaster that I keep in my wallet of songs that I would like to try out.
This is awesome.
Oh, my other number 3 is Come and Talk to Me. I've been working that one lately, guys. The Jodeci song.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mother Danzig. I've never done that, but there's no reason I can't.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Night Moves. Why I don't do Night Moves. Keep Your Hands to Yourself. Georgia Satellites.
Yeah.
That came on in the car the other day, and I was like, oh, this would be a good one. And Turn the Page, another Seger, but
Seger, yeah.
Because you forget when you have a few pops and you see that there's karaoke, like, ooh, karaoke. You got to have the little list just in
yeah,
case.
You have to. 'cause your
Metallica
brain
cover
doesn't
turned the
understand.
page, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yes.
Garage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the worst.
Not bad.
No, it's not bad.
Alan, I feel like I've been railroading this. You have
No, we're good. Just a couple other things. So, how would Dad Boner have fared on TikTok? Do you think?
Oh,
Could you have done it? Like, could you have acted it out, or is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you can pull off the character,
Sure.
and you know what he sounds like.
It would have taken the realism out of it, though. I would have had to
Right.
before
You're
I
breaking
ever
the fourth wall, I guess, if you do that.
right, and also it takes the imagination away.
Sure.
You know, if Santa Claus was on TikTok, he wouldn't be as popular if you never saw him.
Fair. Yeah.
But before I ever did Dad Boner, I'd written down in a notebook, hey man, if you just put on like 40 pounds, grow a ponytail, and just become one of these characters and just start only doing that, you'll be famous.
just
And-
Larry
Right.
the Cable Guy.
But Larry the Cable Guy, like why not?
Right.
And instead, that's essentially what the Twitter character was. Like, go all in. Don't ever admit to who you are. This is Banksy it.
Yeah.
Did you want to be famous, and were you ever jealous of the anonymous Dad Boner being so famous?
Oh,
Huh.
jealous.
No, I was never jealous. I liked that. I liked
Okay.
that. People ask me have asked me a lot of times, how hard was it for you to not tell everyone? I was like, I didn't want to. I was forced into that.
Right.
I think there's a possibility I would have taken that all the way and never exposed it and just held on to it for me. But
Fucking
you can't.
Drew Magary didn't let you do it.
Well, there's that, and also I couldn't monetize it. And at a certain point,
Sure.
it was just isn't the whole point of this is for me to be a successful comedian and writer.
Absolutely.
And if I can't do it without selling out, and in retrospect, I shouldn't have held it so precious, and I would have sold out completely a lot earlier because I had a really generous longevity as far as internet trends go. I
Oh,
did
people
almost
love that shit.
like
I
a
was
full
looking on
decade.
Reddit earlier.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people subscribed to that. It's
Well,
crazy.
it went on for a long time.
Right.
But the sweet spot in the beginning, if I would have put a website up with t-shirts that just said really looking forward to the weekend,
yeah.
I could have sold 10,000, 20,000,
easily.
40.
Yeah.
I could have banked that, which probably wouldn't have been beneficial for me at the time. I was too much of a tornado to I think giving me that amount of money would have just let me party without worrying about money instead of having
was
to
gonna say,
drive to like
You might not have gotten stabbed, but you may have still gotten stabbed, but it wouldn't have been at that place. It would have been at another location.
right. Yeah. It's very possible. It would have been like Dane Cook stabbed me in the
Right.
Well, Dane Cook stabbed me in the dick at this party.
We're fighting over
Yeah.
lines in the bathroom.
Fighting over lines with one of the roadies from the Bengals. And Dane Cook's like, "Hey, amigo, that's my line." And I told him how much he stinks, and he got all mad. I threw his guitar in the pool, and that's when he stabbed me.
Think about what I want to ask you. So you live in Saginaw now.
Yep.
I used to live in Michigan. Alan's told me I come across elitist when I say this. I say this as someone that feels like I lived in Michigan. I don't feel like I wasn't a tourist while I was there. I don't understand why people live in Flint, and I'm wondering if you can tell me why. Because I was poor when I lived in Michigan, and I was able
Right.
So like I don't know why people live in Flint.
There are chunks of Flint that are okay. Is the thing. I know people that have moved there and bought houses in the last 5-10 years, knowing that it was Flint, but they're still like anywhere. There's neighborhoods that everything's for the most part totally cool, and you can live there.
Right. And if you know how to mind your business, you avoid the other. Everything can be fine.
Right. But no, you make a valid point, and I think that some people just that's where they live.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you got to remember, a lot of towns like this, half the people or more that I see on a daily basis, they never left here. They never lived anywhere else. So that's just how it is. And
maybe their home's paid off. It was their parents' house. They have it. I mean, I guess I never thought about that side of it too.
They have a job there. Their house is there, and they don't have, especially in today's economy, they don't have money to just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And where are they going to go? They're going to go here, which is
that's what I was saying. Go be poor.
Massive upgrade.
That's true of a lot of small towns. Though people just get stuck in that cycle, and if they don't have the curiosity to explore, then they're just okay. This is life. This is what I do.
Well, yeah, there's that, and I also would equivalent it to, like you go into a rougher neighborhood in Los Angeles, and any house is worth $1.2 million. The house that in this city that I live in, that you drive by and looks like it's going to get torn down and may very well be torn down and condemned the next day. That a house in LA like that sells for $750,000, $800,000. You flip it, you turn it into a $1.8 million house.
Yep. Right. Same thing in the Bay Area.
And I've said that so many times. Why doesn't this old lady sell that fucking house and just go be rich? And the answer is always from people is that they live there, their family's there, and some people are very family first. And they'll leave the house to their kids, and their kids will sell it maybe, but it's almost refreshing that some people don't think that way.
Yeah, it almost is.
And I can understand that. I can appreciate
it. But
Alan, you got one?
No, I think I'm in.
Do you want to ask him about some of the?
Yeah. Do you have any good Brido stories?
Yeah,
like some good Brido stories we haven't heard before.
Stuff he won't talk about.
Yeah, he won't tell us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough to know which ones I haven't told in public. I'll tell you this one.
Okay.
I probably told it. We're at the bar. Brido's getting way out of hand. Brido's having one of those nights where you look back on it and you're like, oh, that's why you had to stop drinking. That was an example.
Chicago strong.
And he's me and him are probably him and I, me and him, doesn't matter. We're drinking, I think, Bullet, and that's how things always went wrong. Is
rye or regular?
Rye. Both of us had a big boner for Bullet Rye Rocks.
Yeah. I like it too. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can take it too far. And and I think we're at Little Joy, which is a bar I had a show at for a while.
What city?
In Los Angeles.
Okay.
In Echo Park.
Okay.
So that became one of our real watering hole bars, and I ran a comedy show there. So and I knew the owner, so there's a lot of shots, a lot of things that didn't appear on your bar tab.
Right.
On the up and up.
Yeah.
And,
pretty good tip.
And he's got to go. Like he's in the way, being obnoxious, that I have to go get Ricardo the bouncer, who's a real fucking bowling ball of a don't fuck with me kind of guy. Nice guy, love me, but you don't want that man mad at you. And I said, hey, dude, you have to kick Brido out. And he's like, what's going on, Bernsey? I was like, you got to kick out Brido. I was like, all right, if you say so, man. And I see him do and just bang. He's like, hey, man, you got to go. He's like, oh, come on. Oh, come on. Ah. Kicks him out. He walks home. We have this big deck in our apartment, and he goes up the stairs, and he forgot his keys. And I don't know where his keys are. They could have been in the house. They might have been left at the bar. But he can't get in, and he has to pee really bad. He said, I got to take a piss. You sick of this? I got to piss. So mad. So he kicks the fucking door off the hinges. Like the door jam, like that. It looks bad. Like,
yeah.
I come home, and I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, no, we got broken into, which was very plausible in this neighborhood. It is. It's one of those. It wasn't like a clean kick in. There's door jam fragments, and it's kind of hanging off caterwonky. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I had to take a piss. And, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's like, this fucking door was locked, and I It's like, Brido, we're in the back with no houses around, on a deck that goes straight down to nothing. And then there's a lake. There's no, why didn't you piss off the balcony like we do anyway, sometimes sober in the middle of the day? Didn't think to do it. Instead, kicked the door in. And
I got to ask, how early in the day was this? Was it still daylight out, or was
No, this is nighttime. This is for
right.
sure nighttime. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, that's on the table though, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's potential.
Especially,
Yeah,
you know.
I would argue that worse things usually happened daytime.
Yeah.
Worse things usually happened when we decided to day drink at 11 o'clock or 11:30, and then it was 5 o'clock, and that's about when that witching hour would really start to kick in.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That's a great story, man. Great story.
One of the things we always like to ask everyone is the dumbest thing they've ever done. It can just be the first one you think of.
I have one very specific cringe one. Yeah.
Yeah.
From when I'm a kid.
Yeah.
We went to my grandmother's house. My grandmother was having a rummage sale, and she had this big long plastic chain, big yellow chain that you'd use to hang plants up, like on your porch or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it was a big long, it was like 12 foot long. You cut it to size. And my mom wants it to hang up some plants, so my grandmother gives it to her. And I've got it on in the back seat of a Dodge Colt, it's like a 79, 81 something Dodge Colt. I'm probably 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. Those are all the same age.
Yeah.
And I got it around my neck like Mr. T. and then I take some of it off, and I got it out the window of the car, and I'm watching it just tick 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 on the road.
Oh,
tick 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 tick, and it's still wrapped around my neck. And my mom makes a right turn, and the back tire goes over it for a second, and it just goes. Didn't get caught up in the thing, but if it would have got in the axle and around the tire in like 2, 3, 4 turns, it would have real quick snapped my neck or ripped my head off. My mother would have turned around to her dead child in the back seat.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the scariest. Wow.
That might be the best answer we've ever got.
Yes. Holy shit, bro. Dude.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance that plastic would have just broke, but a little kid like that,
I wouldn't think the test. No.
Yeah. I think I would have been fucked.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's chills going through my spine.
Yeah, I don't like
that. I don't like it at all. That was a great story, though. Well, dude, Mike Burns, ladies and gentlemen, it's been great having you on the show. Power Moves with Mike Burns. You can find anywhere there's podcasts. You got your Patreon show, Cards, right?
Yep.
Cards. And then also he has a book, Power Moves.
Yeah, if you can still find, you might be able to still find a copy. I'm sorry if you didn't get enough dad boner.
No. Like we said at the top, like if people are interested in more dad boner,
go listen to
the Brido episodes. Like everything you ever wanted to hear.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want to ask the same questions twice. We have some overlap.
Definitely.
Overall, this was more fun for me.
Good. That was the
because
plan.
That's the other thing with a lot of this. When even I did that thing with Brido, it's like, dude, I don't remember when this was. You were there with me, Brido. We were drunk the whole time when we weren't.
Right.
I still went to jobs and things, but in the downtime, there's a lot of blurred lines going on.
I imagine.
For sure. Well, thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Hey, before we go, you gave us one of these before. Do you mind giving us one more of just this is Mike Burns, and I never listened to None Taken. We'll use that as a bumper at the start of the show. It's sort of a self-deprecating thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'll give you a couple takes.
Hell yeah.
This is Mike Burns, and you're listening to Nut. Fuck that up. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that I fucked it up.
It's better.
This fucking show. This is what you get. You get a fucked up bumper and you fucked up promo. There you go for the none whatever this is podcast. Enjoy it. I'll give you another one.
All right.
Hey, this is Mike Burns, and you're listening to the None Taken podcast. Oh boy, I almost fucked that one up. Why are you listening to this? What is it even worth it for me to do a retake? No one's listening to this show.
It's good. It's good. We got it. We got an assortment. Appreciate it.
Let me do one more.
One more.
Okay.
Hey, this is Mike Burns, and you're listening to the None Taken podcast. Why? Are things not going well for you that this is what you've chosen to entertain yourself with?
Jeez. Perfect.
That was perfect, man. Nailed it. Absolutely awesome.
Hey, what game are you watching? I see a reflection.
Bruins, Leafs.
Who you got?
I've got, what is it? Oh, it's still nothing. I have a first goal on someone for the Bruins, Matthew Neese.
Okay.
I think something like that. But I got suckered into that because I have a betting group with buddies, and someone will put a $5 first goal or something, and then like you can't not. It's like thanks for throwing my money away. If I don't do it and you win, I want to kill myself.
Right, but they're all going to be talking about it, and you're like, it's only $5. Like I'm not going to say no.
It's the fun of it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I did 3. That way I feel better about it.
Nice.
Sad. It's a sad pike. This is super fun, guys.
Thanks,
dude.
man.
It was great having you, man. Have a good night.
You too.
Cheers.
I'm going to stop recording.
Yeah, stop recording. All good.